Oh, his housemates raced in to see what had happened. Poor guy. There I was, and poor girl, still attached to his penis, feeling very vulnerable. How do you think he felt? Listen, Ollie made me light up like Blackpool illuminations.
I think the same thing. Ollie, Stan, always full of laughs.
I was 21 at university and hadn't had the best history with guys. I'd been out on dates.
Have you ever met a woman who's ever told you that they had the best history with guys? Didn't have the best history with guys. Of course he didn't, because you're a woman and you're human. I've never known a man who's ever had the best history with girls either.
I've had the greatest history with ladies. The best history. She was great. That's why they're all, my exes.
Exactly. Not a blemish. Never ever. No one has ever come along who's like, I had the best history with girls, best history with guys. Doesn't happen that way, because eventually, it's the struggle that gets you to learn essentially how to handle life, right?
Hopefully.
Life teaches you how to live it after a while. You sort of thrash and bang around and bump into the edges and the walls, and eventually you go, okay, wait, the walls are there, I get it. I know where the doors are now. Come on then.
I've been out on dates, but never really found that chemistry where I wanted to take it further.
Never? Oh, she's 21, okay.
Ollie was different.
She got time. Ollie had a moustache. You are like a 3-year-old child. Put her in a place.
He was on the same course as me, reading politics, and I'd flirted with him for weeks.
They flirted about politics.
Oh,
That'd
God.
be terrible,
Oh, can you imagine?
You like Boris as well, I bet. Yes, I like him very much.
Oh, yes.
Good.
Very much so. Very much.
Your hair a little bit like him. I was thinking that if we were to sit around and, discuss what's happening in the newspapers today, it might be ever so,
Woo.
It's hard to flirt on politics.
It is, isn't it?
Don't do it. Don't go on a date.
Nah.
And think, yeah.
No, never.
That's politics. Let's talk about that all night.
Do you know what? That's just a subject you don't broach.
Even if she loves it, let her talk about it a little bit. Don't make it your number one topic, because it's just not likely to go anywhere other than back to school.
We'd
end up writing it, so.
We'd gone for drinks together in groups, but we always found ourselves.
That sounds awful. It's awful, isn't
Why?
it?
They just went for drinks together in groups. What's awful about that?
Because they went in groups. Don't do it, guys. Jesus Christ! If there's a girl,
They weren't together yet. They were just going for. They were in uni, George. They were at university. Groups in the students, in the class, in the politics.
I've had occasions where uni girls are like, "Do you want to come for a drink with me and my 11 friends?"
Did you not go, George? 11.
I have done, yeah. And let me
Sounds
tell
like
you,
great fun.
It's not a good idea. No, it's not. It's you want to get to know someone. Go on a date. Have a coffee, just you and her. Don't go do it with all of her friends. All of your friends.
All in sundry.
Let that come later, if at all.
Right. We always found ourselves sitting near each other and bursting into laughter.
we found ourselves sitting near each other. Nobody made a conscious decision to sit next to the other person. It just so happened. And then all of a sudden we found ourselves in a room naked together. And all of a sudden I found that he was inside me. It's amazing the things you find if you open your eyes and go, look what I just found, a child. Oh, it's mine.
My heart skipped a beat when he pulled me to one side after a night out and asked if I fancied going for a drink together.
What? After... Slowly, I was thinking after the night out, he pulled her to one side, and that's when they kissed.
No, not there.
They went out for a night out, and he pulled her aside, and then he went.
Let's go for it. Let's.
Do you want to go for a drink? Like, we just had a drink. We just had 7 of them with 14 other people.
That's true, actually. So she's replied, "What now?"
Imagine if you literally. Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I want to do this properly." Right?
No way. She said, "What now?"
Yeah, exactly.
It's literally like getting into bed with the girl, right? You've been on a date. You've been to 3 or 4 different places in a day. You're completely naked. You're holding her intimately, staring into her eyes. It's just beautiful. It's existence itself in the palm of your hand. And you look at her and with no clothes on, you go, I was thinking about taking you for a drink next week. Do you want to come?
Yeah, what?
Alright, I'll see you then.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
So she floated, apparently, and smiled all the way home. She floated and smiled away in a boozy haze, right? A few nights later, it was time for our date. I tried every outfit I owned to see what looked right, even though I saw him most days in lectures. I think I settled on some horrendous electric blue boots and what I thought was a very cool edgy dress with a bold red face painted on it.
Keep that in mind, guys. But when a girl says yes to a date, think of how much
Effort.
pressure, all the thought and time and energy. And I remember going on a date once, and she'd cut her hair. Like I met.
You
her
went on a
actually-
date, George. Sorry, rewind.
Slow
motion this side.
Slow motion this side. This was. I met her on a train, right? Public transport.
Oh.
And we were chatting. No, I met her on the train station.
Okay.
Sorry. And then we got to talk
The
on the train,
platform.
and we switched numbers on the train. And then I went to see her about a week later, maybe a bit less, and she cut her hair. And I remember she was like,
"What? How much?
Have you noticed
like
anything
skin,
different about me?"
like.
No, it was
Just
like down to about here. But
so,
I guess when I met her, it was down to about here.
Right.
And because it had been a very brief meeting,
Encounter.
like,
Brief
we-
encounter.
brief
on
encounter.
the train.
We met on the platform.
Yeah.
We only went maybe 4 or 5 stops, and I took the number, and then about a week later we met. So I was like, and I was trying to work out what was different. And she's like, oh, and I thought, oh my god, and I was like, well, she did that for this date. Like she went out and she completely got her hair changed and cut, because she thought this is, and I didn't even notice. Which is appalling, but I mean, look at that. I only knew her for 5 minutes before then. But the thing is like, it is worth keeping in mind. If she says yes to the date, she is going to go through quite a rigmarole of like, what makeup is good, what clothes are good, what shoes are good. Should I wear this? Should I wear that? Should I wear
Whereas
this?
you, George, 5 minutes
just
before you
sharp,
leave
don't
the
I? With
house.
a backpack. Just go, oh yeah, sorry, I've got the backpack on. Oh. Sorry about that. Natural musk.
It's all you need.
Yeah, pair of trainers, you know.
Listen, so it was my only if my only outfit if only my outfit was the worst part of the date. Oh, so we've already set what's going to happen next potentially. So we met this.
We said it.
Well, no. Well, listen.
You picked her up and ran over a cliff with her.
Listen, George. It gets pretty deep, pretty messy.
Oh, I like it when it gets a bit deep. It's a good date.
You'll see about that, George. We met at the student union, and it couldn't have gone better. We were laughing together and bonding over snake bites and politics. This sounds awful.
He's now brought a cobra with me. There's a python in my left pocket, cobra in the other pocket. Here, have a bite. Sounds like
To
you
be
were in
fair-
the wrong side of the Garden of Eden, getting devoured by Satan himself, which was a snake.
Well,
And politics, the other side of Satan.
This is what I was going to say. Yeah. I mean, some people would refer to politicians as snakes, so I guess it kind of makes sense. We didn't want the night to end, so wound up at Fruity Friday's cheese dance night at the Union.
God, that sounds awful. Cheese dance night. Could you imagine anything worse than that?
Why is it?
Let's dance with some cheese.
okay.
You got some cheese? Let's dance with some cheese.
You know, Rick Astley is going to be like the first one on there.
Never gonna give you up. Yeah, I quite like. I mean, there's the thing about when people there's things. It's a very English thing, which is like rather than just enjoying something for what it is, you have to almost make fun of it before it's okay to enjoy it. And I never like that because it's like if you love it, love it. If you adore it, adore it. If that's your thing, you're gonna have fun. Be like, I love it. You don't have to be like, yeah, it's cheesy, isn't it? It's cheesy, but it's good. It's a guilty pleasure. Like, it's not a guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure.
Just
So go for it. Go for it 100%. It's that sort of thing. We go like, we're gonna have a cheeky drink. No, you're not gonna have a cheeky drink. You're just gonna have a drink, right? A cheeky dance.
Cheeky, yeah.
No, it's not a cheeky dance. It's just a dance. Okay, so it's not a cheese night, right? It's like, what is it? 80s music. Great. Then call it 80s night. That's much better. Look, Back to the Future 2, right? When he's in the future, but he goes into the 80s bar, Cafe 80s.
Yeah.
It's that sort of vibe. Like, that's awesome. And that's kind of where we are today.
Yeah.
But they don't go like, 80s cheese bar. Like, that would be shit. You don't want to do that. No. But you want to do it like he does it back then. Jacket drying. Your jacket is now dry. Like, it's awesome. Celebrate it. All right, Karen.
Carry on. So, we kept away from everyone else and just spent time together having our first kiss on the dance floor.
Fiddled with his python.
I remember having butterflies apparently this time. No pythons. And feeling like I might burst with happiness.
Don't burst, honey. Jesus. Happiness is supposed to be a good feeling. No one wants you to burst.
We left together and walked home holding hands.
Where's home? His or yours?
And
we need details.
We got some chips on the way.
Sounds dreadful.
Chips are great, George. What are you on about?
Come on, First of all, when you're getting turned on and aroused, you don't want to eat anything anyway. And the last thing you want is a bloody kebab. Like, he's there with his Roger getting all hard and he's desperate to try and like reach the finish line. And she's there going, come on, let's have a kebab. Deep fat fries.
Love is a euphemism. You don't want it, do you? Right. It felt natural to go back to his house. I'd known him for ages.
The way we've been right.
I don't. It felt natural.
It's as natural as breathing.
I'd known him for ages. Okay. Oh, how I wish I'd waited. We had a drink with his housemates who all wanted to peer at me.
No.
Right? Why are you drinking with his house? Anyway.
It's not her fault. It's his
No,
fault.
he doesn't know what he's doing, does he?
You take her to the bedroom. You sit down. You carry on the conversation. You put on some nice music. You talk about your lives. You share intimate stories. This is your moment. This is your bubble. This is my perfect moment with you. Not your flatmates, right? And a bowl of chips. Don't bring the housemates in because you've messed it up. It's like watching a movie, right? And the movie's going and you get into the final climactic ending, and then it's like, no, what's this scene? No, we just brought in all these people, and now they're all talking to us about their story and his story and this guy Bill's story and Joey's story. I don't give a shit about that. I'm trying to watch this movie's story, and I want to get to the end of this story. Don't bring all these other people in. That's a mistake, mate. What are you doing? No wonder she didn't have a good time. All right.
So, we had a drink with his housemates who all wanted to peer at me before he went into his... What kind of weird... Politics students are weird, right? We all wanted to peer at me before we went into his room. with red, freshly laundered bed... Why are you telling us this, love? Let me just read that sentence again. We had a drink with his housemates who all wanted to peer at me before we went into his room with red, freshly laundered bed sheets. He actually knew how to work a washing machine. Another tick in my mind.
What is this, like 50 Shades of Grey? He's got a red room.
I don't know what's going on here.
Did you mean Christian Grey before he became successful when he was in university studying steaks?
This was going so well, she says. All right, if you say so, love. Then the unthinkable happened. I still cringe and turn crimson when I think about it.
I always love it because I've read a bunch of things where women say, then the unthinkable happened. And it's like, and then they almost always say something that was completely obvious. Like I spoke to someone who they wrote a letter to their work about how their family had COVID-19, and the woman was like, and then the unthinkable happened. I caught it as well. Right. And it was like, what is unthinkable about that? You live in a house and your whole family has COVID-19, right? You've got like 3 kids and a husband. Then the unthinkable, like, what did you think was going to happen? Anyway, right. That was really funny when I read that.
I'm just going to come out with it. I love it when someone writes that, when you've written so much before, which shows me that you haven't just come out with it.
Just going to come out
I'm just going to come out with it, right? Now she's ready to come out with it. We had started being very intimate when his penis got stuck in my dental brace.
Fucking hell, that was quite a leap. You went from like conversation, the unthinkable happened.
And it was quite unthinkable, wasn't it? Fair play to her.
It was, because there wasn't even a mention of like going into, like, are all the friends still sitting around during this moment?
Well, they're peering in, clearly. That's what they wanted to do, right?
They're peering in at the... First of all, you were talking about how he's got a washing machine.
I know.
All of a sudden, his penis is in his dental brace.
It seems a little bit discombobulated in the way she writes. So, my stupid, glistening, brand new braces my parents had bought me for my 21st birthday. He let out a blood-curdling...
I don't think that's why they bought them. A blood-curdling
scream.
Blood let out of his...
And his housemates raced in to see what had happened. Poor guy. There I was, and poor girl, still attached to his penis, feeling very vulnerable. How do you think he felt? Absolutely she felt vulnerable, George. Yeah. And absolutely mortified.
Oh my God, I'm so vulnerable right now.
Fucking hell. I can tell you, he would have felt pretty vulnerable himself in that position. His housemate phoned a friend. You've got
to see this, bloody hell. Yo, check this. Oh my God, yeah.
Chris Tarrant, who wants to be a millionaire. Right, I'll give him a call.
Call Chris Evans. Get this one on live.
His housemate phoned a friend doing medicine to ask what he should do. So he's phoned a student medicine doctor, right, to ask him what to do. I'd just call the ambulance, to be fair.
Yeah, call the doctor.
It was even worth listening to them on the phone. It was even worse listening to them on the phone discussing it. Though it was better than the option I thought of, which was to phone my mum, who was a nurse, I was petrified I had broken it for life. I wanted the ground to actually swallow me up. Instead, his housemate, as
Instead, I swallowed him up.
Instead, his housemate, as gently as he could, detached his penis from my brace.
Oh, go on, housemate.
Fucking
Good
geezer.
job, you mate. That's what you do. Get in there. Nothing homosexual about that. Just grab that penis, unlatch it, do your friend a favour.
Oh my.
Then unhook the braces, leave them alone together so she can finish up.
Oh, the shame. It felt like there was blood spurting out everywhere, all over the room. How have you not called an ambulance at this point? I remember offering to go to A&E with him, and he looked at me in horror. Instead, Ollie went with his housemates. Okay, good. I'm glad you went. I probably should have left then, but in my drunken state, I fell asleep and had to sneak out on the next morning before they were back. When I woke up after making it back into my own bed, the post-alcohol guilt started to come through. The flashbacks of what had happened. I looked down to see the time and realised that I had left my beloved Stormwatch behind. What the fuck? I thought she was talking about him when I read the word beloved.
Yeah.
My beloved Stormwatch.
I don't even know what a Stormwatch is.
It's just a fancy watch, basically. I mean, it's a watch which is worth a lot of money. It's not a Rolex level kind of watch, but it's it's a fancy, stylish watch.
Okay. Why did you take it off to give him a blowjob?
Good point.
Just let me take the watch off,
There's-
please, because I don't want to get that caught in it.
Yeah. But no, listen, it was so special to me. I had saved up for it when I was young, and it meant enough to me that I couldn't just dismiss its loss as collateral damage from the night before. Fair enough, you need your watch back.
Yes, you ain't stealing it.
Yeah,
Guy
you can
got
get it
rushed to
back.
A&E.
Give it a few days, love. Do you know what I mean? I had to work up the courage to call him to see how he was. Yeah, really, and ask if I could pick up the watch. It wasn't surprising that he didn't answer, so I tried a text. My housemates were in fits of hysterics. I was met with a chorus of, "There is no way he's going to meet you to give you the watch back." Well, he did. Of course he did.
Yeah, of course.
Why wouldn't he? You didn't do anything wrong. It was an accident. His cock got stuck in your brace. You didn't plan it, did you? Like, why would he be upset with you? Of course maybe he'd be embarrassed, but he's going to give you your watch back, unless he's a complete prick. When he did, I remember driving there with my stomach in knots. He was outside his place and handed it back to me. I asked if he fancied doing something again. He looked at me like I was a mass murderer and said no. I'm sure it wasn't that he was looking at you like a mass murderer. I'm sure he was just pretty mortified and embarrassed at the situation, and he just needed a bit of time to heal, both literally and, metaphorically.
So when you get those braces off,
yeah,
I
talk.
might give you a bell.
Yeah, exactly. After that, we never spoke again. I would see him around university and felt shame in the pit of my stomach every time I did. I couldn't stop myself.
She doesn't need to feel shame.
No.
No one planned for that. You're trying to have a good night with somebody who you liked. You spent all that time picking what to wear and things, and I mean, she probably had one of those like retainers or something. Like,
It happens.
Wasn't her intention. She wanted to give him a treat. She wanted to treat him. It just went wrong.
It happens, guys, and I think, the moral of that story is, if you're dealing with metalworks,
Get calling a professional.
yeah, like,
Make sure the builder comes in and the plumber, and they sort it all out first and foremost.
just make sure it's ready to go, At the end of the day, these things do happen. I wouldn't,
There should be warnings on braces, shouldn't there? Like when the dentist is putting it in, there should be like,
Don't.
by the way, this is this kind of a brace.
Yeah.
There are some braces okay for that thing. This thing not so okay for that thing. I mean that's pretty harrowing. One thing I find amazing about that is the idea that these two people who felt like they were young, and she felt like she was falling in love. At least the way she writes it.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't, but let's imagine that he did. Right? The idea that these two people could have so much going for them, and that could have actually turned into a loving relationship, maybe even someday a family. And yet, because of
It happens, George. At university, it
braces,
happens.
that
The
one
brace-
little thing just ruined that entire future.
It-
And it's like, what's that got to do with them, really? She wasn't her fault. Like, her parents probably took her to the dentist as a child.
Sure.
She was born with teeth a certain way. She wanted to get them straightened. And it's like, that's completely separate to the two of them. If they really got on and they really bonded and they really connected and their personalities just clicked in some kind of rare and beautiful way,
They
what a
could've
terrible shame that these things also clicked in a rare and terrible way. and threw the whole thing off kilter, and that was the end of it.
This
But
is
it's
it.
quite sad. I mean, I think those two should have spoken to each other on the phone some more. Because sometimes when two people are not face to face, it becomes about only your words and your tone of voice. You have nothing else.
Yeah.
So if they could have reconnected that part
Heart
of
to
themselves, yeah, outside of the kind of like, oh my god, she's so sexy, or oh, he's so sexy. Separate that a bit, and maybe they could have turned it into something, but maybe it just wasn't meant to be. Who knows?
Yeah, these things.
We did start talking about pythons and politics, so for me it was doomed from the get go. But that's how you go.
Well, that is one. George, have you got a few minutes to drop one more in and leave the viewers with something else to spice up their lives?
Not really, because that camera's about to go out of battery. And I can see it flashing.
Okay.
So, by the gods, it's gotta have to be a farewell.
Farewell, wonderful ones. As George said so eloquently, it is all about connecting heart to heart, and I hope you can feel my heart beating strongly as I get closer to the screen, as I look into your eyes, into your souls, into your presence, into your light, into your love. My heart is beating stronger and stronger. I don't need coffee. I don't need Red Bull. All I need is your love to shower upon me, for me to reflect it back to you, and for us to create this moment of sunshine and light and all the things that make the world worth living in. We'll see you next time.